Hello, and thank you for being at my channel. My name is Chrissy Hodges. I am an advocate for OCD, in particular pure OCD. I'm also a certified peer support specialist working with individuals worldwide as they work toward recovery for OCD. And I do referral consultations to help you connect you to therapists that can help. Also, NOCD is an app. Inside that app, they have many ways of connecting with other people. There's resources, and they also do telehealth, doing ERP. So if you're looking for that kind of treatment, head on over to treatmyocd.com. I just wanted to come on here really quick and do a video of something I've been thinking about lately that's really come up for me in this last week. I'm in South Dakota, first time ever, at a mental health conference, and I did a keynote presentation this morning, and then I'm doing one this afternoon on OCD. And the keynote was about how I was treated after my suicide attempt, and from a mental health perspective of how people with mental health and suicide and stuff like that gets treated. And obviously it was bad for me at times. This was back in 1997. There was no internet. Things were very different back then when it comes to mental health. But something has come up for me, and I just wanted to share this with you. This is just more of a, I feel you, I'm meeting you where you're at, I understand what it's like. I had someone bring up in group a few weeks ago their experience about just being in the depths with OCD. And in preparing for this keynote, I've had to go back and relive a lot of the things about my story that you can read about in my book, Pure OCD, that I just haven't thought about in a long time, and I don't want to think about it. And one of those things I just want to share with you, so you know that I know what you go through. I think that when I had to really look back and put together the speech, I really wanted to convey the depth of despair that OCD puts us in, so that when I was dismissed and looked at with disdain by the admissions person in the hospital and by several other people along the journey, just how I wish people knew just how awful this disorder is. And so I really dug deep into my story, and one of the things that my individual in group said was how when she was at her worst, at her lowest, she would drive down the road and just want to crash into something and end it all, which of course we know means ending the suffering. And the thing about OCD is that when you're using tools, sometimes it takes a little bit for that suffering to ease. But when you don't have any tools at all, I think I just wanted to come on here and share. I remember what it was like before I knew I had OCD. There was one night in particular, it was about a week and a half before I attempted suicide. Remember, I had no idea what OCD was. I had no access to figuring that out. And it was like, I had to go to this concert from my mom. My mom sings in like choirs and stuff like that. And I was going to visit her, and I was so ill in my symptoms. I mean, that I was just completely in the haze. And I remember waiting to go into that concert out in the car, and I was putting mascara on, and I was crying so hard that the mascara, I'd put it on and the mascara would just, I'd have to wipe off the mascara. And I just remember sitting out there going, how did it get this bad? What did I do to deserve this? How can I not do something to remedy how awful this is? And I really remember thinking, I'm never going to get better. I can't imagine that this feeling of doom and haze and this cloud that was over me, you know, it's like looking through blurred glass. I remember sitting there in the car and looking out at the sunset and being like, how many people are watching this and finding joy tonight? And I am watching it and just, I hate myself and I hate my life. And that night, I ended up going to the concert, and it ended up like breaking that night, meaning like, oh my gosh, I don't feel horrible. But then later, that when I was going back home and I was driving, as you all know, sometimes the haze can come and go. it came back over me, and I remember thinking I could just run the car into the bridge and end it. But the thing is, I didn't want to end my life. I didn't. I wanted to live, and I wanted to live a life where I wasn't suffering this badly, that I could escape somehow. I just wanted the suffering in because I knew I could love life, and I knew I could do life well. And just hearing that from her, and then really going back and revisiting what it felt like to experience OCD to the degree to which we do. And then when I did attempt suicide and I went into the hospital and I was treated so poorly because I had attempted suicide. And I said this in my speech today. All I wanted to do was scream at that woman and say, if you had any idea what I go through, if you had to experience what I go through for an hour, you would not treat me like shit. You would go, oh my God, how has this woman survived this long? And I think today, I don't really know what the point of this video is other than to say, look, if you're in the depths, or if you've been there and you're scared about going back, or if you've been there and you're just like, wow, that was horrible. Look, I have been there. I know what it is like to go weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks thinking there is no hope. I know what it's like to have clinical depression so bad that you cannot move. And intrusive thoughts and fear so bad that you think that life could never get better. I am sitting in front of you 25 years later. And yes, it is a struggle sometimes, but for the most part, I do not suffer the way that I did before treatment. I do not suffer the way that I did before I knew what this was and before I had connections to a community. It is possible. Please don't give up. But it's also, it can help give you hope to know that other people have been where you're at or have been, and they could break free. I just wanted you to know, I know from the depths of my soul how bad it can get. And I'm sorry that you're there if you're there, and I'm sorry that you have been there if you haven't, now you're shook up about it. I've gotten to the bottom since then. I've relapsed, but I never got that far. And I always knew there was hope because I was able to get through it once, so I knew that I could get through it again. You're here, which means you have hope. So just hang on. Everybody with OCD that I meet with has hit a bottom. They have hit a bottom and they have climbed out. And this community is here to help hold you up while you climb. So I just wanted to share that with you. I hope that helps. This certainly isn't a message of despair. I just realized there are things about my story that I have still not processed. I still haven't grieved, and that are still very integral part of who I am and why I am where I'm at. But also that are really responsible for a lot of shame that I carry around about that whole experience. So I appreciate you listening. I just really felt inspired and I wanted to share that with you. If you're interested in services from myself, go to chrissyhodges.com, and from NoCD, treatmyocd.com. And I will see you when I'm back in Colorado. Bye.